And let me be clear, Stellantis must keep the promises they made to America in our union contract. And the UAW will take whatever action necessary at Stellantis or any other corporation to stand up and hold corporate America accountable.
What if I told you that some of America's most iconic vehicles, like the Dodge Durango, the Ram 1500, and the Jeep Grand Cherokee, are seeing their production moved out of the United States, and the UAW, once a powerful force in American automotive manufacturing, is now facing a major crisis as these moves threaten their influence and thousands upon thousands of American jobs. Today, we're breaking down how Stellantis, the parent company of Dodge, Ram, and Jeep, is strategically shifting the key vehicle production to places like Canada, Mexico, and even Egypt. These moves are not just impacting where the vehicles are built, but they're also challenging the very future of the UAW and American automotive manufacturing. And what I've also told you that these production shifts could mark the beginning of the end of the UAW's influence in America's automotive industry. So let's get into it. Enough of this fluff. If you guys need the best aftermarket parts that your money can buy and at the best prices, my friends at Just Bolt-Ons and DragWhistlewheels.com have you covered. With my special promo code BUTTER at checkout, you can save up to an additional 15% off on your next order. From exhaust cutouts to cold air intakes, lowering springs to sticky Mickeys and lightweight wheels, my friends have you covered with the best prices online. And with my promo code, the best prices just got a little bit better. Let's start with the Ram 1500, one of the most popular pickup trucks in the United States. It's been a staple of the American automotive manufacturing produced by the UAW workers for years. But my over 35,000 friends and it's 71% not yet subscribed, that legacy is under threat. Stellantis recently announced up to an additional 2,400 people getting laid off at the Warren Truck Assembly Plant in Michigan after ending production of the Ram 1500 Classic. There was hope that these workers would be able to continue building the new generation Ram 1500, taking on overflow production from the Sterling Heights Assembly Plant, or SHAP. But instead, it looks like Stellantis is sending overflow work to Mexico. The Stellantis Truck Assembly Plant in Mexico has long built Ram trucks, including the 2500 and the 3500 models, and now it seems they'll be handling more production. This decision comes as the Stellantis CEO Carlos Tavares has publicly criticized the performance of the US plants like SHAP, saying that too many trucks are needing to be repaired after they come off the line, which increases the cost and the delays of shipments. It seems like this criticism is laying the groundwork for Stellantis to justify moving even more Ram production to Mexico, where the labor costs are that much cheaper. For the UAW, this is a devastating blow. Moving more production to Mexico weakened the union's bargaining power and threatens thousands of jobs. What's even more concerning is that this move could be a sign of things to come, especially after the current UAW contract expires in 2028. Now, is Stellantis justified in moving Ram production to Mexico to cut costs, or is this just a major blow to the UAW and American jobs? Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section. Now let's talk about the Dodge Durango, another iconic vehicle that's currently being produced at the Jefferson North Assembly Plant in Detroit. The Durango has been a staple of Dodge's lineup for the last several years, but that's about to change. Stellantis has announced that the Durango will be replaced by a new 3-row Dodge SUV, and here's the kicker: it won't be built in the United States anymore. Instead, Stellantis plans to build the Durango's replacement at their Windsor Assembly Plant in Ontario, Canada. This new SUV will be built on Stellantis' Stella Large platform, which will support both gasoline and electric powertrains. And if you guys remember, that plant over there at Windsor, it also makes the brand new Charger Daytona, the 2-door and the 4-door version, the Chrysler Pacifica, and the unnamed Chrysler vehicle that's also coming there as well. and now they can add a fourth sibling coming to that one plant. So you kind of think TK's Garage talking about the other day how Stellantis has no confidence in the Dodge vehicles selling well. Well, stacking them all in one plant seems to kind of confirm TK's suspicion. But by moving production to Windsor, Stellantis is cutting the UAW's workers out of this equation with the Dodge Durango. For the UAW, this is another major hit. The Jefferson North plant, which has produced the Durango for years, will lose one of its key vehicles, just like it lost the Grand Cherokee when it moved over to the Mack plant. And just like with the Ram 1500, this move further reduces the UAW's role in building Dodge vehicles. What's especially concerning is that Stellantis is moving more and more production to places outside of the UAW's control, whether it is Canada, Mexico, or somewhere else. It's clear that Stellantis is trying to cut costs in its transition to electric vehicles, but at what cost? And it seems that cost is to American workers. Moving the Durango's production to Canada might make sense financially, but it leaves UAW workers in Detroit without a key product to build. First it was the Ram trucks, now it's the Durango. What else is next? Now let's turn to Jeep, especially the Grand Cherokee L. Now this model has been a very good success for Jeep and has been produced exclusively at the Detroit Assembly Complex, which is the Mack plant in Michigan. But now Stellantis has begun producing the Grand Cherokee L in a new location, in Egypt. Stellantis recently launched local production of the 2025 Grand Cherokee L at the UAW American Vehicles plant in Cairo. This move is part of Stellantis' strategy to expand the presence in the Middle East and in Africa, and is a big part of their Dare Forward 2030 initiative, which kind of sounds as though we're going to move out to other countries and away from the United States by 2030. But while Stellantis is expanding overseas, they're scaling back production in the United States. The Detroit Assembly Complex recently cut one of its 3 shifts due to slow sales of the Grand Cherokee. So while production is ramping up in Egypt, it's being scaled back in the United States, which is yet another blow to the UAW and American workers. By moving some of the production of the Grand Cherokee L to Egypt, Stellantis is further weakening the role of the UAW represented plants in their global strategy, and not to mention some of their vendors who support those vehicles locally. Now they don't need to even, support that many parts. They can go source those parts in cheaper regions overseas. And while Stellantis is planning to achieve over 90% regional production in 2030, this could just be the beginning of a broader shift away from US-based production. Because if they're trying to expand globally and they're trying to make sure that all the products are produced near the market that it's going to, why does the US market have to produce a lot of vehicles when they can just cut them all off and just send them overseas? And then you never know, they may keep complaining about the production quality in the United States and then import them vehicles back from those regions into the US to get rid of the UAW. Now for the UAW, this is yet another sign that they're losing control over key vehicles. Stellantis is clearly focusing on expanding its global footprint, and they're willing to move production to lower cost regions to make that happen. Once again, it's the UAW and American worker who are paying the price for these historic contracts. So what do all of these moves mean for the future of the UAW and American automotive manufacturing? Stellantis is making it clear that they are willing to move key vehicle production out of UAW-controlled plants, whether it's sending Ram trucks to Mexico, building the Durango replacement in Canada, or shifting the Grand Cherokee production to Egypt. For the UAW, this is a very big crisis. With every vehicle that moves overseas, the union loses more of its bargaining power, and more American jobs are put at risk. As Stellantis continues to focus on cutting costs and transitioning to electric vehicles, it's likely we'll see more production shifts like these in the future. I've already read another article that was saying that Brampton, where they are retooling the plant, which used to make the Challenger and Charger, now they're retooling the plant for one of the Jeep electric vehicles, and now that plant is going to get a second commitment for another product to be launched there in Canada. So we keep hearing about all these other plants gaining production outside of the country, and it seems as though we're only hearing about plants in the United States losing production. We've heard about Toledo with the Wrangler and the Gladiator. Those plants are losing shifts. We heard about at the Detroit complex and Jefferson North. Those plants are going to lose shifts. We heard about Warren Truck. The Ram Classic is gone. That plant is going to lose another shift. And then we have the issue going on with Belvidere right now, where Stellantis is pushing back on actually putting a product there in Belvidere after they said they're going to do so in the UAW contract. But one of the most glaring things they overlooked in that contract was that Stellantis never promised to put a product in that plant before the collective bargaining agreement expired. So in another 3-4 more years, Stellantis still has the ability to put off putting a vehicle back in that plant, which it was already pretty crazy that UAW was celebrating that they brought jobs back to Belvidere, but wasn't going to take place until towards the end of the contract. So we keep hearing of all these American plants losing jobs for the UAW, and it kind of seems as though that is why the UAW started pushing in the South to expand more membership, because they were losing membership with the big three. You've already seen issues where like Ford laid thousands of people off because they're pushing back on the EV strategy. GM laid off people, especially with what's that cheap EV vehicle? I think it was the Bolt. They're pushing back on that. So all these companies are, I guess, sick and tired of the UAW, especially the president, who's going around bad mouthing every single person who's a CEO of all these big three. And then in the background, he thinks that they're going to want to play nice and keep American manufacturing alive. I mean, it's kind of like you doing the same thing, right? You work for a boss, but you talk bad about your boss every chance you get. And then in the background, you're trying to beg him, please, don't send my job over here. Don't let Raul in Mexico, take my job. Don't let I don't know an Egyptian name, so don't let these guys in Egypt take part of my job. Don't let Canadian bacon go and take part of my job. But apparently Stellantis just had enough of it. I mean, there's only was so much a company would take of you talking crap to them before they start sneakily trying to get rid of you. And it seems though that's going to happen, because as I was reading one article, there is more enough capability for Warren Truck, which is right down the street from Shap, to build the overflow trucks for the Ram 1500, like the current Ram 1500. But Stellantis does not want that, because Stellantis is pissed off at the UAW over the whole historic contract crap and all the language they use, and them trying to paint them as like the bad guy in the situation, which honestly Stellantis is the bad guy from all the shady stuff they've done in the background that I know about, especially when you consider that Stellantis is getting sued by the shareholders on multiple continents. They're getting sued by shareholders here in the United States. They're getting sued by shareholders over in Europe because they lied about their production numbers, and then they try to go get dealers to falsify sales in order to make themselves look better, to make their stocks get or have a better value to them. But the heat is on Stellantis. Stellantis is a suspect company with a very suspect leadership, and it is rearing its ugly head. I mean, if you've seen what it went from FCA to now, it's like the fall of the Roman Empire right before our eyes. This company went from here to making millions and billions of dollars of profit. Now they're down 40% because maybe all along when they was making all this historic profit, they was actually having dealerships cover for them. But now the writing is on the wall. Now they have gotten caught up with the UAW with the whole record contracts. And so now they're having to pay more money out of pocket. Then you have the shareholders suing. Then you have dealerships wanting to close dealerships because they can't afford to eat the cost that Stellantis is trying to pull out of these vehicles. Like Stellantis has been sneakily in the background, kind of thinning the margins for dealerships, which now that's why dealerships having to make literally every desirable vehicle $15, $20, $30, $40, $50,000 over sticker. But it's just a long way of saying that Stellantis is in trouble and they're trying to cut costs by getting rid of the UAW. The UAW, like I said, I support the UAW worker. I don't like the corrupt UAW leadership. because they've already had multiple presidents go to jail over corruption. They've already been in bed with previous FCA, corrupting the collective bargaining agreement. They've had these similar issues with the other members of the big three. And now here we go. We have Stellantis trying to get rid of them. Stellantis trying to fudge around with dealers. Stellantis trying to con some of you guys into like voiding your warranties and stuff. So there's a lot of bad stuff going on in the background. And this right here is just the tip of the iceberg. And it seems as though, you know, if Stellantis go through a few more quarters of this, they're going to have to sell off some brands. And by them moving production overseas for some of these brands, it kind of seems as though they're opening the door from what TK was talking about with BYD buying some of these brands off. Because if America doesn't want BYD to come in to actually build cars here in the United States, maybe Stellantis is moving production overseas so it's easier for BYD to buy products. Because like I said, after what 2 or 3 more years, there gonna be no Dodge products, 0 Dodge products built in the United States of America. No Challenger, well, that's already been discontinued. No Charger Daytona, no Hornet, and now no Durango. Then you're gonna have Chrysler basically in the same boat. No Chrysler products built in the United States of America. You got the Pacifica built in Windsor, that's in Canada. Then you got this new, I don't know what vehicle they're gonna make for Chrysler. They don't want to commit to say that they're gonna either make a new 300 or make the airflow concept that we've seen. But pretty much all of Chrysler's vehicles are made in Canada. And then you're gonna have the situation where Stellantis is moving part of Ram trucks to Mexico. Like I said, they've already built all the HD trucks there in Mexico. Now they're gonna start building the light duty trucks in Mexico. And I mean, let's see, what other brand we got? Alfa Romeo, that's all built in Italy. Trash. Maserati, that's all built in Europe. I mean, I know some of y'all guys like that Maserati, so I ain't gonna say trash. We'll just say suspect quality. But they are definitely positioning themselves to a point to where if they need to sell off brands, they don't have to worry about American manufacturing. Really, the only Stellantis product made in America right now is basically Jeeps and the Durango. And the Durango might be gone, right? I mean, the only things I can think of on top of my head from Stellantis is the Grand Cherokee, the Durango right now. Then you got the Wrangler, and you got the Gladiator, the Wagoneer, the Grand Wagoneer. Other than that, other than Jeep, which 100% they'll never sell Jeep off, every other brand is up for grabs, right? I mean, it is what it is. So my UAW friends, I've talked to some of you guys in the background, especially some of you guys that work at Warren Truck. It's time to jump ship. It's definitely time to jump ship. Your leadership is definitely failing you. How in the world that within 1 year of these historic contracts, thousands upon thousands of people are losing their jobs? You're losing products left and right. Like every few months, you're losing products. I even saw another article that all the hydrogen Ram 1500 trucks, or I think the 2500 trucks, all those are gonna get built in Mexico. What's to say that once these EVs start to roll out and there's a lot of quality issues, what's to say that Stellantis won't move all the Ram electric trucks over to Mexico? And the only thing you guys build is just basically just regular production. And then they just keep claiming that, quality issues. We're going to build more overflow trucks because the quality down in Mexico is better here in the United States, which really in the background just means they're trying to collect more margins, because Stellantis is not going to be a high margin company. They've already told us that they're more interested in loading these vehicles full of software locks rather than offering people more trims. And they're going to put so many vehicles overseas that the UAW really needs to rethink their strategy. And that's probably why, like I said earlier, you've seen the UAW try to expand themselves in the South, because they do not have a foothold in the United States anymore. It is time for the UAW to rethink its strategy. Can the UAW survive in a globalized market where automakers are consistently looking for cheaper labor, and by placing products in countries that are cheaper than what they are in the United States? But let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. If you found this video informative, Be sure to hit the like and subscribe button and maybe that notification bell to stay updated on this information on the UAW. And as always, until the next time, I'm out.